What if you could know your competitor's next move before they even make it? I mean, really know it. Or what if you could finally understand what your boss is really thinking in that big meeting? It sounds like a superpower, right? Well, today we're going to break down a powerful technique that intelligence agencies use to do exactly that. Let's get into it.
You know, this quote from General Patton just nails it. This is the ultimate competitive advantage, right? It's not about being stronger or faster. It's about knowing your opponent so deeply that their actions become totally predictable. This isn't magic. It's about getting inside their head. And that's the key, whether you're on a battlefield or trying to win in business.
But let's bring this down to earth, to our own lives. Have you ever been in an argument with your partner and just wished you knew why they were shutting down? Or what's really going on when your boss says, interesting idea? We all want that little bit of insight, that ability to see what's behind the curtain.
Well, what if I told you there's a real, systematic method for this? A tool that's been used for decades at the highest levels. We're talking spy agencies and Fortune 500 companies to predict exactly how people are going to act under pressure.
And that tool is the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, the MBTI. Now, you've probably heard of it, right? Maybe you even took a free version online somewhere. But this is way more than just a fun personality quiz. It's a serious psychological instrument that maps out how people see the world and how they make their decisions. And in the right hands, it's an incredibly powerful way to predict what someone's going to do next.
And this isn't some fringe idea. The MBTI is a global standard. It's used in dozens of languages, and get this, over 2 million people take the official assessment every single year. So its credibility is solid, built on decades and decades of research.
Okay, so how does a standard HR tool become a secret weapon for spies? Well, the story is actually kind of wild. It didn't start in some secret government building. It started with a really personal experience that accidentally uncovered a whole new way to use it.
The guy who wrote our source material, he's an intelligence officer himself. And years ago, he and his wife were going through the adoption process. As part of that whole screening, they had to take a bunch of psychological tests. And one of them was, you guessed it, the MBTI. But there was a catch.
So this is where it gets really interesting. They didn't just have to answer all the questions for themselves. They had to do it a second time, but answering as they thought their spouse would. So he was trying to predict her answers, and she was trying to predict his.
And the result was a total lightning bolt moment. His wife's assessment of him, the one she filled out for him, was nearly a perfect match to his own self-assessment. And that was the big aha. It proved that someone who knows you really, really well can map out your entire psychological profile without you ever answering a single question.
And just like that, this personal discovery gave birth to a powerful new intelligence technique, remote psychological assessment. The name pretty much says it all. It's the art of building a super detailed psych profile of a target, a foreign diplomat, a business rival, whoever, from a distance without them having a clue you're even doing it.
All right, so we know it's possible. That's the key thing. But how does it actually work? How do you go from this cool idea to a concrete profile that you can actually use to predict what a competitor is going to do? Let's get into the nitty-gritty of the method.
I mean, this is the million-dollar question, isn't it? The official MBTI has 126 questions. You can't just send an email to the CEO of your biggest rival and be like, hey, could you fill this out for us? Thanks. So, how do you get the answers? The solution is so simple, it's brilliant. You don't ask the target anything. You just use that principle from the adoption screening. You find a whole network of people who've seen the target up close in all kinds of different situations over many, many years.
And we're not talking about asking 1 or 2 people here. A really deep, comprehensive profile can pull insights from up to 125 different sources. Think about that. Each person holds a different piece of the puzzle, and when you put them all together, you get this incredibly sharp, accurate picture.
And where do you find all these people? Literally everywhere. They are the former colleagues, the old fraternity brothers, the next-door neighbors, the people they play golf with on Saturdays, even their kid's soccer coach. Every single one of them has seen a different side of the target's personality. You just have to piece together all those little stories.
So all of this data, all these stories and observations, they all get synthesized to place the target into one of these 16 personality types. That 4-letter code, like INTJ or ENFP, becomes your roadmap. It gives you this incredible framework for understanding how they think, how they decide things, and how they're likely to react under stress.
Okay, theory is great, but let's see how this thing works in the real world.
Let's look at a case study of how one company, we'll call them Hildegard Industries, used this exact method to absolutely dismantle their biggest rival, Junipero Corp.
So here's the setup. Junipero Corp hires a new CEO, Jack Jones. The profile on him comes back as a classic ENFP. What's that mean? He's a big-picture, imaginative guy who cares a lot about people and harmony. But, and this is a big but, he hates details, avoids conflict, and takes forever to make a decision. Now compare that to Junipero's culture. Fast, aggressive, tech-focused, and all about results. It's like oil and water. And Hildegard Industries saw this as a massive vulnerability.
And here's the genius part. Hildegard built their entire competitive strategy around Jack's personality. They predicted his ENFP traits meant he'd get lost in feel-good employee projects instead of the core business. They knew his decision-making would slow to a crawl. So what did they do? They started strategically poaching Junipero's best and most frustrated engineers. They even quietly encouraged local politicians to get Jones involved in time-consuming social programs, knowing he wouldn't be able to resist.
And the result? It was absolutely devastating for Junipero. Their leader was distracted, decisions weren't being made, and their top talent was walking out the door. The company went into a total downward spiral, all while Hildegard Industries was there to scoop up market share, capitalizing on every single weakness they had predicted from the start.
So here's the big takeaway from all this. Yeah, this is an incredible tool for corporate espionage, but the principle behind it, that's a superpower for absolutely anyone. Understanding someone's core personality type can completely change how you interact with them, whether you're trying to lead a team, negotiate a contract, or just have a better relationship with your partner.
Which kind of leaves us with one last big thought. Every single day, with every action and every decision you make, you are telling a story about who you are. You're broadcasting your personality type to the world. So the real question isn't if you're telling that story, it's what story are the people around you reading?